welcome to our presentation party. So now we're going to tackle about the psychosocial theory of development by Erikson. Before we start our discussion, let us know first the learning outcome of this topic. So at the end of our discussion, you can now explain the 8 stages of life and the 6 ways on how Erikson's theory is useful as a future teacher.
Good day everyone, this is Crishellou Bulahan. So today I will discuss to you about the Erikson'S psychosocial theory. So Erikson was a stage theorist who took Freud's controversial theory of psychosexual development and modified it as a psychosocial theory. He emphasized also that the ego makes positive contributions to development by mastering attitudes, ideas, and skills at each stage of development. And this mastery helps children grow into successful, contributing members of society. So Erikson's psychosocial theory of development has 8 stages. And during these different stages, there is a psychological conflict that must be successfully overcome in order for a child to develop into a healthy and well-adjusted adult. So, here makita nato ang psychosocial stages, a summary chart sa psychosocial stages. Diri makita nato ang age, ang conflict ana nga age, and important events and outcome. So, sa infancy, birth to 18 months, ang conflict ani niya mo to siya ang trust versus mistrust. Important events ani mo ang feeding, ang outcome, hope. Ang early childhood, 2 to 3 years. Conflict autonomy versus shame and doubt. Important events, toilet training. And outcome, will. Preschool, 3 to 5 years. Conflict initiative versus guilt. Important events, exploration. And outcome, purpose. Then school age, 6 to 11 years old. And the conflict is industry versus inferiority. And the important events is in school. And outcome is confidence. Then adolescence, 12 to 18 years. And conflict is identity versus role confusion. And important events is social relationships, and outcome is fidelity. And young adulthood, 19 to 40 years. Conflict is intimacy versus isolation. And important events, relationships. And the outcome is love. And middle adulthood, 40 to 65 years. Conflict, generativity versus stagnation. And the important events are work and parenthood, and the outcome is care. Then maturity, 65 to death. Then conflict, ego, integrity versus despair. Then reflection on life is the important event, and the outcome is wisdom. So autonomy, meaning this means self-government, freedom to act or function independently. Psychosocial, this refers to having both psychological and social aspects. So this is according to Erikson. Erikson also believed that a sense of competence motivates behaviors and actions. So each stage in Erikson's theory, ang kada stage di ay sa theory ni Erikson is concerned with becoming competent in an area of life. So, different na siya yung mga lahi-lahi. Each stage na lahi-lahi nga mga becoming competent in the area of life. So, if the stage is handled well, the person will feel a sense of mastery, which is sometimes referred to as ego strength or ego quality. If the stage is managed poorly, the person will emerge with a sense of inadequacy in that aspect of development. So, first stage, trust versus mistrust. So, trust versus mistrust is the first stage in Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. So, this stage begins at birth, continues to approximately 18 months of age. So, the first stage of Erikson's psychosocial theory is about trust versus mistrust. So, trust versus mistrust, according to Erikson, is in this stage begins at birth, continues to approximately 18 months of age. So, infancy. During this stage, the infant is uncertain about the world in which they live and looks towards their primary caregiver for stability and consistency of care. If the care the infant receive is consistent, predictable, and reliable, they will develop a sense of trust which will carry with them to other relationships, and they will be able to feel secure even when threatened. If these needs are not consistently met, mistrust, suspicion, and anxiety may develop. If the care has been inconsistent, unpredictable, and unreliable, then the infant may develop a sense of mistrust, suspicion, anxiety. In this situation, the infant will not have confidence in the world around them or in their abilities to influence events. So, for example, ako na ako'y bata. So, for example, na ako'y manghod, babae. Akong gisugo siya pabantay. Sungugan man kaayo akong manghod. So, nagtiyabaw ako ang bata. So, wag yun siya trasa di na siya mo trasa ako ang manghod. So, in that case, ang akong anak, mahadlok na noon mo dool pod sa uban nga mga tao. Kay, na naman siya case nga, sungugon siya sa akong manghod, mahadlok siya, dili silbi. Ang bata, magtimaan naman gud siya kung kani siyang tawhana, masaligan yun na ko ni siya, kay dili ko sungugon, kuguson ko, halukan ko maayo. So, mo na ang bata, nga mo trust yun nga tawhana. So, kung akong manghod, nagsigig sungog, di na siya ganahan, wanay trust ang bata. So, kung naay musuroy nga tao diri sa amua nga, mukuan sa akong bata, muhangop baron, wanay trust ang bata, mahadlok na nun ang bata. Kaya na naman siya case, nga na-trauma siya sa akong manghod, nga gisungog niya. So, mo na siya ang kuan kanang if dili consistent ang imong pag-care sa bata. Pero if consistent imong pag-care sa bata, dili kanang for example dili sungugon ang bata mutuog yun nimo, mudool dayon nimo, dali din siya mudool, dili mahadlok, dili mutyabaw. So success and failure in stage 1 will lead to the virtue of hope. So, by developing a sense of trust, the infant can have hope that as new crises arise, there is a real possibility that other people will be there as a source of support. Failing to acquire the virtue of hope will lead to the development of fear. This infant will carry the basic sense of mistrust with them to other relationships. It may result in anxiety, heightened insecurities, and overfeeling of mistrust in the world around them. So, same to sa example na ko ganiha. Ang bata mo ila na sa lain nga tao, di na sila mo tuo, dili maduol, dili mutyabaw sila. Silbi, nana sila'y kahadlok sa mga taong palibot nila kay kuan man kanang dili inconsistent ang pag-care sa bata kay gisungog inana siya mo na siya ang ako ang sabot sa first stage sa psychosocial theory ni Erikson. So the second stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt. So autonomy versus shame and doubt is the second stage of Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. This stage occurs between the ages of 18 months to approximately 3 years. So according to Erikson, children at this stage are focused on developing a sense of personal control over physical skills and a sense of independence. So success in this stage will lead to the virtue of will. If children in this stage are encouraged and supported in their increased independence, they become more confident and secure in their own ability to survive in the world. If children are criticized, overly controlled or not given the opportunity to assert themselves, they begin to feel inadequate in their ability to survive and may then become overly dependent upon others, lack of self-esteem, and feel a sense of shame or doubt in their abilities. So, pwede siyang example kay na-experience ko na yan. Hibaw ko, most of the mother experience this kind of situation. Because ang atong bata na sa ani nga stage good, magbuot na sila. Dili ta kabuot, magbuot sila kung unsa ilang gusto maogyot. For example, mamili sila sa ilahang gustong isuot. Nag-andam ka kung unsa ilahang ipasuot nimo. Pero di sila ganahan kay naagid sila ay gusto nga suoton. Mao ni siya ang example. So, kuan kanang imbis na nga for example, imuhang ikuan nga kanigyo ipasuot nimo, dili na nimo siya anaon. Imo siyang uyunan lang sa imong gusto. Mga inana gani. And for example, kanisad, kaning nagsuot ba karon og medyas? Kaning bata kay maglahi manggod ning huna-huna na ay times nga kita mo pasuoton, na asay times nga sila gyud gustong mo suot. So kani nga time nga gusto gyud sila mo suot, di lang gyud nato sila pugson nga kita atong paabuton nga ano sa sila muhangyo diri nato nga mapatabangi ko, ati kuya tabangi ko sa pagsuot og medyas. Paabuton nato nga muhangyo sila, muas sila nato og help. Usa nato tabangan, dili nato sila kanang unsay pangalan ani, dili nato sila kanang atong pugson nato nga kita gyud mo kuan, kita gyud mismo mo suot ana nya gusto nila nga sila. So dapat ato sad silang sabton kay kung makaton man sad na sila og sila mismo mo mubuhat ana, makaton man sad sila. So if the children in this stage are encouraged and supported in their increased independence, they become more confident and secure in their own ability to survive in the world. So what happens during this stage? Mao gyud akong example. The child is developing physically and becoming more mobile and discovering that he or she has many skills and abilities. Kanimanggong idara anha na makita ang imong silbi kakiat ang mga curiosity kanang gusto gyud na mahibawan og unsa na ani manggod nga stage na to makita ang ilahang pagka-active kay na sila, such as putting on clothes and shows. So mao gito kong giingon ganiha, playing with toys, mamili sila sa ilang gusto nga duwaan. For example, manuroy ta, gusto gyud nato Barbie ang atong palito sa atong batang babae. Pero naay babae nga batang babae nato nga gusto sad og pusil-pusil, palitan nato og Barbie, nga ila man gusto pusil-pusil, so di gyud madayon nato ang atong Barbie kay masuko man ang bata kay ganahan man siya og pusil-pusil. Mga inana nga cases. So playing with toys and etc. Such skills illustrate the child's growing sense of independence and autonomy. Mao ni siya. So, mo ni siya, example ni siya ni Erikson. During this stage, children begin to assert their independence by walking away from their mother. So, kanang for example, murag mauguro ni ang bata nga mulaag, inana, muna siya, picking with which toy to play with, and making choices about what they like to wear, to eat, and etc. So, moto siya akong example kaniha nga. Kani nga stage nga mga bata, nana ni sila lang kaugalingong desisyon nga magbuot-buot na sila nga kanigyud ako ama, dili ko ani. Nya di man kung atong dili nato tumanan. So, tantrums ang bata, magtiyabaw, magsuki, mauni siya ang mahitabo. Basta dili na to matumanan. So, atong suportara na lang sila sa ilahang gusto. Pero na to the point nga ato pong spoiled og maayo. So, what can parents do to encourage a sense of control? So, according to Erikson states, it is critical that parents allow their children to explore the limits of their abilities within an within an encouraging environment which is tolerant of failure. For example, rather than put a child's clothes, a supportive parent should have the patience to allow the child to try until they succeed or ask for assistance. So, same sa akong example ganiha nga katong medyas nga magpaabot lang ta kung kanusa ang bata mangayo og tabang diri nato. So, the parents need to encourage the child to become more independent while at the same time protecting the child so that constant failure is avoided. So, support lang yun ta nila. Support lang ta. A delicate balance is required from the parent. They must try not to do everything for the child. But if the child fails at a particular task, they must not criticize the child for failures and accidents, particularly when toilet training. So, especially sa toilet training, ni siya, dili na to i-criticize ang bata kay malack of self-esteem ang good ni sila. Sa giingon lang ni Erikson, kung dili na to kung atos nang i-criticize, they become overly dependent upon others, lack self-esteem, and feel a sense of shame or doubt in their abilities. So, they must try not to do everything for the child, but if the child fails at a particular task, they must not criticize the child for failures and accidents. So, the aim has to be self-control without a loss of self-esteem.
So the third stage of Erikson's psychosocial theory of development is the initiative versus guilt. So during this stage, children assert themselves more frequently through directing play and other social interaction. So diri na time ang mga bata kay mura na sila kanang makahibaw how to socialize with other people, other children. So these are particularly lively, rapidly developing years in a child's life. So according to B 1992, this stage is the time of vigor of action and behaviors that the parents may see as aggressive. So diri na time kay marag ang mga bata kay is ganahan na lang sila magduwa and marag dili na lang sila maminong sila kanang mama, and then kung papaulion sila, for example is kanang mga bata kay mura maglago silang mama kay nganong paulion sila if ganahan pa man daay sila magduwa. So mura siya diri na part marag ang mga bata is nagka-aggressive na. So during sa diari na stages, ang mga bata is na nasa school and they tend to socialize na good with other children sad na pareha nila og kanang edad. So central diri na stage is ang play. So play provides the children with the opportunity to explore their interpersonal skills through initiating activities. So children begin to plan activities. Pwede sila makahimo og mga duwa na pwede nilang duwaan sa iyang mga amigo-amiga. And if given this opportunity, children develop a sense of initiative and feel secure in their ability to lead others and make decisions. And tungod sa ani na hitabua, pwede ka nang ma-enhance ang capabilities sa usa ka bata, and then ilahang confidence is ma-build. Children playing. So this is the stage where mugawas na sigaw kaya ang mga bata is ganahan na lang man magduwa. So ang mga parents is will tend to punish the child and restrict his initiatives too much, diba? Murag din hinakasab-an diri na ingna na di man na dapat mao imong buhaton, murag din na nila i-disiplina ilang mga anak diri nila pwede. Ang uban gani kay bunalan nila unsa pa na dira. So it is at this stage na kanang ang mga bata will ask many questions as his thirst for knowledge grows. So If the parents treat the child's questions as embarrassing or other aspects of their behavior as threatening, then the child may have feelings for guilt. So diri na mo gawas si guilt kay marag ma-feel nila ang guilt kay marag mani-ask questions yan ayang mama na sa mukha ni mo mo tong marag makuha sila ay samok ko dapat di na ko mukuha ni mama di na ko mangutana kay samok man ko. So pwede na siya kanang tungod sa ana ay pwede na siya ma-resolve into ang bata kay ang ihang kanang confidence sa ihang kaugalingon is mawagtang, and too much guilt can make the child slow to interact with others and may inhibit their creativity. So success in this stage will lead to the virtue of purpose, while failure results in a sense of guilt. So that is why a healthy balance between initiative and guilt is very important. The fourth stage of Erikson's psychosocial theory of development is the industry versus inferiority. So Erikson's first psychosocial crisis is involving industry versus inferiority. So this occurs during childhood and between the ages of 5 and 12. So children are at the stage where they will be learning to read and write, to do sums, to do things on their own. So dere na stage is na sila sa eskwelahan, mga kinder to elementary school na sila, where makaibaw sila how to write their names, how to read, how to do math, and how to do things on their own. Like for example, sila na lang ang maadto sa canteen to buy their snacks, and di na sila kailangan og guidance from their parents. So during the stage sa DI, teachers begin to take an important role in the child's life as they teach the child specific skills. If children are encouraged and reinforced for their initiative, they will begin to feel industrious or competent and feel confident in their ability to achieve their goals. But if this initiative is not encouraged, if it is restricted sa ilahang parents and also sa teacher, then the child begins to feel inferior, doubting his own abilities, and therefore may not reach his or her potential. So tungod sa ani ay murag ma-doubt ang bata sa ilang own capabilities and skills, no? So if the child cannot develop the specific skill that they need, that they feel society is demanding, then they may develop a sense of inferiority.
So, good day everyone. I am Anlorene Tampos and I am going to report the 5th and the 6th stage of psychosocial development by Erikson'S. So, before that, I would like to apologize for the background music kay di jud malikayan nga naa kay singers nga silingan. So, let's move on. So, the 5th stage of Erikson'S psychosocial development is the identity versus role confusion. So according to Erikson, the adolescent stage or this stage plays a crucial role in the development of a sense of personal identity. So during this stage, the adolescents explore their independence and develop a sense of self. And when adolescents receive proper encouragement and reinforcement in their personal exploration, they will emerge from this stage with a strong sense of identity and are able to remain true to their values. So if kita ko no kay maka-receive ta og sakto nga encouragement or motivation or kanang naitaw nga maingon nato nga goal lang kung unsang imuhang gusto, kung unsa ka nga pagkatawo, kay na ako na big possibility nga kita magpabilin nga true sa atoang kaugalingon and maka-develop sa taog strong sense of self. However, if kita or those other people didn't receive proper encouragement or reinforcement, it is very possible po that they will develop a weak sense of identity and experience that may lead into role confusion, not only about themselves but also about their future. So, di ba, kung kita nakaka-receive ta og proper encouragement, kay magpabilin ta nga true sa ato ang kaugalingon ug maka-develop ta og strong sense of self. Pero if kung kita dili ta maka-receive og ana mga encouragement sa atong kaugalingon, like i-down ta sa uban nga tawo, kay dako sad kay possibility nga kita maka ato ang ma-receive is weak nga sense of self nga ayaw na lang di ay maglibog na ka kung unsang imuhang role diri sa kalibutan nga kanang taga-unsa ra ka diri, tapos unsay gusto ng mga buhaton in the future, kay kanang wala naman kay kanang trust sa imong kaugalingon tungod kay discourage na ka sa ubang tao or wala ka naka-receive of proper encouragement towards other people. So that is the identity versus role confusion. So the sixth stage of Erikson's psychosocial development is the intimacy versus isolation, or the young adulthood stage, which takes place of ages 20s to 40s. So according to Erikson, after the person develops a sense of self in adolescent stage, he or she is now ready to share his or her life with other people. So, diri mag-start nga makig-socialize na ta with other people, makig-make na ta og social relationships towards other people, where in fact, ganahan na gani ta maghimo og long-term commitments to others and are even willing to sacrifice and make compromises. And katong mga successful ani nga stage are able to establish intimate relationships which may ultimately result in the development of love. However, if the people or katong mga tao nga na wala na successful or na failed to establish intimate relationships with others, they may develop a sense of isolation.
So, generativity versus stagnation. So, in this stage, adults strive to create or nurture things, often through parenting or contributing to the community or some other positive changes. So, however, stagnation occurs at this stage if ang usa ka tawo fails to find a way to make a positive change. So, Erikson's theory is it outlines the stage of adult development in a few ways. So it's the stage of life that hinges on the success of someone's relationships, their career, or their community. So in fact, Erikson theorized that adults who are coming across the challenges risk a lot at this stage in human development is if adults don't continue to grow, they risk of becoming stagnant. So, for many ways of us, some of us we want to make or we want to leave a mark on the world. At this point in adulthood, ang tao ganahan sila or likely been through a myriad of experience. Then, the root of those experiences are two things. So, myriad of experiences. So, the root of this two things are the root of these experiences are two things: enriching your full potential. So generativity is an idea that as adults of any in a stage is we have a responsibility to invest others. So regardless, people who invested in this generativity stage of life is ganahan sila to reach their full potential. Then ganahan sila to live with clarity, purpose, and passion. So ganahan sila to see the growth, ganahan sila to see the growth, change, and development and clarity. So ganahan sila to see the growth, change, and the development of unsa sila as a person, but it doesn't come up without bumps along the way. So this is why some adults will come across different points sa ilang journey where they face stagnation. So stagnation can happen when a person doesn't participate in generative activities, but because human being or kita nga tao is we kanang unique. Stagnation doesn't have one size fits all answers for what it looks like in practice. So however we can identify some key and things that we may struggle with within this stage of development, and one of it is self-absorption, lack of willingness to grow and get outside of our comfort zone, and failure to contribute to society. And that is our discussion. So now we are going to tackle the ego, integrity versus despair. So it is the final and eighth stage of the Erikson's psychosocial development. So this stage begins at approximately age of 60 plus and ends at death, and it takes place on maturity. It is all through this time that it contemplates the accomplishments and may expand integrity if they see themselves as leading a success lifestyle. Individuals who replicate on their existence and remorse not attaining their dreams or goals will experience feeling of bitterness and despair. Erikson's described the ego integrity as the acceptance of one's one and only life cycle as something that had to be, and later as a sense of coherence and wholeness. So as it grows older, 65 years, and end up senior citizen, it generally tends to slow down the productiveness of and discover lifestyle, which is anamanam na slahog ang wango. So Erikson's believe that if they see the lives as unproductive, feel guilty about the past, or feel that they did not accomplish their existence on life goals, they turns out to be disappointed or dissatisfied with life and develop a despair. So or a melancholy then often lead to despair and hopelessness. So success in this stage will result into a virtue of wisdom. So wisdom is it allows someone to look back on or look again on their life with a feel of closure and completeness, and also accept death without fear. So wise people aren't characterized through a continuous state of ego integrity. However, they experience both ego integrity and despair. So thus, late life is characterized through each integrity and despair as altering states that need to be balanced. So Erikson's believe that people at different stages of life are likely to experience the same or similar or relatively predictable psychological conflicts, and that conflicts is of ego integrity versus despair is one of those conflicts. So Erikson's argue that there is tendency that gani na mo reflect on one's life and choices to respond to the memories with either a sense of pride and satisfaction or sense of despair. So the ego integrity is it includes those individuals na nakafeel of sense of peace and happiness with the choices na ilang ginahimo sa ilang kinabuhi, while katong individuals who cannot reach ego integrity typically fall into despair.
Critical evaluation. By extending the notion of personality development across the lifespan, Erikson outlines a more realistic perspective of personality development. Based on Erikson's ideas, psychology has reconceptualized the way the later periods of life are viewed. Middle and late adulthood are no longer viewed as irrelevant because of Erikson. They are now considered active and significant times of personal growth. So before the eye, ang middle and ang late adulthood stage is murag ilaran ng gibaliwala because a lot of them thought that sa dira na stage is wala na change na mahitabo. But because of the psychosocial theory of development of Erikson, murag diri na ipakita na change is possible sa middle and late adulthood na stage. So Erikson theory has a good face validity. Many people find that they can relate to his theories about various stages of the life cycle through their own experiences.